Jason J. Peter Garrick is a fictional superhero appearing in American comic books published by DC Comics. He is the first superhero known as the Flash. The character was created by writer Gardner Fox and artist Harry Lampert. He first appeared in Flash Comics #1, 1940. After a bizarre laboratory accident, he acquired the ability to move at superhuman speed and chose to fight crime as a costumed vigilante calling himself the Flash. J. Garrick has made numerous appearances in other media, including his live-action debut as a cameo in Smallville, played by Billy Mitchell, and recurring in the Arrowverse show The Flash, portrayed by John Wesley Shipp. The character of J. Garrick was created by writer Gardner Fox and artist Harry Lampert. The character first appeared in the first issue of the anthology series Flash Comics in 1940, published by All American Publications. He was soon featured in All-Star Comics as part of the Justice Society of America. In 1941, he got his own solo comic book series, All Flash. After World War II, superheroes declined in popularity, causing many of the Flash's comic book series to be cancelled. All Flash was cancelled in 1948 after 32 issues. Flash Comics was cancelled in 1949 after 104 issues. All-Star Comics was cancelled in 1951 after 57 issues, marking Garrick's last Golden Age appearance. Garrick would not appear again for 10 years, and never got another solo series. In 1956, DC Comics reinvented the Flash character, giving him a new costume, name, and background. This new Flash, named Barry Allen, was completely unrelated to J. Garrick. In fact, Garrick had never existed, as far as the new books were concerned. Barry Allen's first appearance shows him reading a copy of Flash Comics, lamenting that Garrick was just a character some writer dreamed up. Readers welcomed the new Flash, but still had an interest in the old one. J. Garrick made a guest appearance in Flash #123. In this issue, Garrick was treated as residing in a parallel universe, Earth 2, which allowed the character to exist without any continuity conflicts with Barry Allen, who existed on Earth 1, yet allowed him to make guest appearances in Silver Age books. Garrick only made guest appearances for most of the 60s and 70s. However, starting in 1976, Garrick became a regular character in the revived All-Star Comics, partaking in adventures with the Justice Society, in stories set in modern times. In 1981, he and the Justice Society appeared in All-Star Squadron in stories set during World War II. In 1985, DC Comics merged all of its fictional characters into a single shared universe. J. Garrick now shared the same world as the new Flash. DC wrote the character out of continuity in the one-shot Last Days of the Justice Society, but brought the character back in the 1990s due to fan interest. Unlike characters such as Batman or Superman, DC decided not to update J as a young hero, but portrayed him as a veteran of World War II with a magically prolonged lifespan. J. Garrick became a regular character in JSA in Justice Society of America. Jason Peter Garrick is a college student, whom, prior to 1940, later retconned to 1938, accidentally inhales hard water vapors after taking a smoke break in his laboratory where he had been working. Later stories would change this to heavy water vapors. As a result, he finds that he can run at superhuman speed and has similarly fast reflexes. Retcons imply that the inhalation simply activated a latent metagene. After a brief career as a college football star, he dons a red shirt with a lightning bolt and a stylized metal helmet with wings, based on images of the Roman god Mercury. He then begins to fight crime as the Flash. The helmet belonged to Jay's father, Joseph, who fought during World War I. He sometimes uses the helmet as a weapon or a type of shield, as seen in Infinite Crisis. He has also used it to direct a beam of light at Eclipso. In The Flash, Rebirth, 2010, he used it to destabilize Reverse Flash. In the early stories, it seems to be widely known that Garrick is the Flash. Later stories would show him as having his identity secret, and that he is able to maintain it without the use of a mask by constantly vibrating his features, making him hard to recognize or clearly photograph. The effectiveness of this is debatable, as he later blamed his girlfriend, Joan, deducing his true identity on his lack of a mask. Garrick ultimately made his identity as the Flash public to the world. During his career, he would often find himself embroiled in semi-comic situations inadvertently initiated by Winky, Blinky, and Noddick, a trio of tramps known as the Three Dimwits, who tried their hand at one job after another, and never successfully. His first case involves battling the Faultless Four, a group of blackmailers, Sir Satan, Sir Jorloff, Duriel, and Smythe, who plot to steal an atomic bombarder and sell it. It is later revealed that a professor found the last container of heavy water vapors and used it to gain superspeed, becoming the rival. He briefly takes away Jay's speed after capturing him, making him super slow, but Jay uses the gases again, allowing him to regain his superspeed and defeat the rival. Like the Flashes who followed him, Garrick became a close friend of the Green Lantern of his time, Alan Scott, whom he met through the Justice Society of America. The Flash soon became one of the best-known of the Golden Age of superheroes. He was a founding member of the Justice Society of America and served as its first chairman. He was originally based in New York City, but this was later retconned to the fictional Keystone City. He left the JSA after issue number 6, but returned several years later, issue number 24, spring 1945. He had a distinguished career as a crime fighter during the 1940s. Garrick's early history was largely the subject of retcons. A story explaining the retirement of the JSA members, including the Flash, explained that, in 1951, the JSA was investigated by the House Un-American Activities Committee for possible communist sympathies and asked to reveal their identities. This was later revealed to be partly caused by Predegaton. The JSA declined, and Garrick, who recently married his longtime girlfriend Joan, retired from superhero life. As a trained scientist, he ran an experimental laboratory for several decades. All-Star Squadron Annual No. 3 states that the JSA thought of being named Ian Karkull, who imbued them with energy that slowed their aging, allowing Garrick and many others, as well as their girlfriends and sidekicks, to remain active into the late 20th century without infirmity. The 1990 Starman series notes that the shade prompted Garrick to come out of retirement in the 1950s, but the details of his activities during this time are hazy at best. Garrick emerged from retirement in 1961 to meet the Silver Age Flash, Barry Allen, from a parallel world. The rest of the JSA soon joined the Flash, although their activities during the 1960s, other than their annual meeting with Earth One's Justice League of America, were unrecorded, although it is clear that Garrick and Green Lantern, Alan Scott, were good friends. It is also established that Garrick has become a respected scientist on his Earth. Garrick was a key member of the JSA's 1970s adventures, as chronicled in All-Star Comics and Adventure Comics. Garrick also helped to launch the careers of Infinity Inc. Following the crisis on Infinite Earths, all the parallel worlds are merged into one, and Keystone City becomes the twin city of Alan's Central City, with the two separated by a river. An updated story suggests that Keystone in this new continuity is rendered invisible and wiped from the memories of the world for many years through the actions of several supervillains. In the early 21st century, many of Garrick's JSA cohorts have retired or died, but Garrick remains active with the latest incarnation of the group. He is physically about 50 years old, thanks to the effects of several accidental anti-aging treatments, but his chronological age is closer to 90. He is one of the few surviving members of the Justice Society of America after Zero Hour. Of the 3 original JSA members still on the team, along with Alan Scott and Wildcat, Jay takes a fatherly approach toward his teammates and the DC superhero community in general. Garrick and his wife, Joan, have guardianship of Bart Allen after Max Mercury's disappearance. During the events of Infinite Crisis, Garrick states that the Speed Force is gone after a battle in which many speedsters, living and dead, wrestle Superboy Prime into the Speed Force and disappear. Garrick is left behind on Earth by the other speedsters when he reaches his speed limit and cannot follow. Bart Allen returns, aged several years, having absorbed the entire Speed Force during his pursuit of the escaped Superboy Prime. Garrick claims that without the Speed Force, his own power is less than before. Like Wally West in the Crisis on Infinite Earth's aftermath, he can only run close to the speed of sound. He also states that, as the Speed Force is no longer retarding his aging, his speed is diminishing with time. After Bart leaves Keystone City for Los Angeles, Garrick, once again, is the city's sole guardian. After hearing news of Bart's demise, Garrick collapses with grief, consoled by Jesse Chambers. Garrick continues his work as a member of the Reformed Justice Society of America, under the leadership of Power Girl. After the death of Bart Allen, Garrick's full speed returns. Garrick is currently the mayor of Monument Point, where the JSA is now based. He faces problems due to the JSA being based in the town, but after talking to another official, who says that, As Garrick is not a politician, he doesn't have to worry about being re-elected. Garrick gains confidence. Soon after this, he holds a funeral for Alan Scott, who was killed defeating the villain Arkin, and tells the Justice Society that they must endure. In The Outsiders, 1 year later story arc, a clone of Garrick appears as an antagonist, created by the Brotherhood of Evil. He appears to be in his late 20s or early 30s and is brainwashed into working for a Melanese dictator. The clone is defeated by the combined efforts of the Outsiders. He possesses Jay Garrick's super speed, but none of his memories or expertise. His unconscious body is placed in the custody of Alan Scott, Checkmate's White King. Because of lingering issues in the cloning process, made more unpredictable by the metagene itself, the clone is infected by a fast-acting version of the clone plate, deteriorating and shortening the lifespan of clones in the DC universe. This makes it difficult for Checkmate to find a way to wake him and undo his brainwash, because, even with his special suit, tailored to stave the degenerating process, he would be doomed to a slow death whenever he awakens from his suspended animation. In Brightest Day, Garrick and the rest of the JSA help Alan Scott and his children overcome the power of the Star Heart, and, in turn, help save the planet from the Dark Avatar. After the events of the Brightest Day, Garrick and the rest of the JSA travel to the city of Monument Point, which has been attacked by a superpowered terrorist named Scythe. Just before being defeated, Scythe snaps Jay's long-standing friend Alan Scott's neck. In the following story, it is revealed that Scythe is the product of Nazi genetic engineering, and that Scott and Garrick had been tasked by the president with killing him back when he was in infancy during World War II. The two heroes could not agree on a course of action, and, as a result, Scythe was allowed to live. Dr. Midnight discovers that the injuries Scott sustained have paralyzed Scott, and that any attempt to heal himself could break his constant concentration, which could result in the Star Heart once again regaining control of his body. Jade visits her bedridden father in the Emerald City, and offers to use her abilities to help him walk again. Scott declines his daughter's offer, reasoning that if the Star Heart were to once again take over his body, it could result in the deaths of everyone in the city. Eclipso attacks the city, which results in Jesse Quick having to get Scott to safety. Later, the JSA tries to take down the villain Arkin, who has broken free from imprisonment beneath Monument Point and absorbed the powers of JSA members, but Arkin is too powerful for the JSA to take him down. Due to the entity's ability to absorb powers from superhumans in its vicinity, only non-superpowered and magical members fight Arkin. The JSA tells Alan Scott that unleashing the Star Heart is the only way to destroy Arkin. However, after releasing the Star Heart energies, Scott's body begins to incinerate itself. Afterwards, the JSA attends a funeral for Scott, whom they believe to be dead. Garrick is upset at having lost one of his closest friends and founding members of the JSA. Following the return of Wally West to DC continuity during DC Rebirth, Barry Allen is overwhelmed by the Speed Force when he shakes hands with Wally West. This not only causes Barry to become possessed by an echo of Eobard Thawne, but also causes Barry to start being absorbed into the Speed Force itself. It takes both Wally and the current Kid Flash's interference to prevent Barry from being absorbed for good. Barry later reveals that, when he was overwhelmed by the Speed Force, he saw visions of possible future events. He also reveals his last glimpse before he was returned to normal was that something more was trapped inside the Speed Force, and although he could not recognize it, it still filled him with hope. The object that Barry saw was then revealed to be the helmet of the pre-Flashpoint Jay Garrick. While tracking a mysterious force responsible for the recent Universal reset, Barry and Batman experience another flash in the form of a vision of Jay's helmet, although he attributes it to the helmet of Mercury. While chasing Thawne, Bruce and Barry can hear someone call out for the latter, but Barry believes it to be calls from lost moments that could have been. As the cosmic treadmill begins to break apart, the voice intensifies and Bruce tells Barry to listen and grab onto the voice. As the voice says Jay, Barry says the name as well, and Jay Garrick arrives, claiming he is free and provides enough speed and power to get Batman and Barry back home. Jay explains he didn't kill Thawne, he is a friend, and, also, Flash. He tries to get Barry to remember who he is. Barry is unable to, but finds Jay familiar and somehow trusts him. Then Jay is absorbed by a blue light and taken away. Barry believes Jay may be from another time that no longer exists, and Barry is not the person that keeps him tethered to reality, saying he's not his lightning rod. In the Watchmen sequel Doomsday Clock, Lois Lane finds a flash drive among the mess while at the Daily Planet. It shows her footage of Alan Scott and the rest of the Justice Society. When Dr. Manhattan undoes the experiment that erased the Justice Society of America in the Legion of Superheroes, Flash appears with the Justice Society when they and the Legion of Superheroes arrive to help fight Black Adam's group in the foreign superheroes. Jay Garrick stars in At the Starting Line, a story included in the Milestone Celebration issue The Flash number 750. This is Jay's first solo story in over a decade. In a single-panel cameo, a figure in a yellow costume, implied to be Eobard Thawne, whispers to Jay that he will be forgotten in the future. It appears to take place in the same continuity as the main line of Flash comics, as the final panel show the images of the future Flashes as well as members of their rogues gallery while Jay muses on the future. This is a list of collected editions or reprints of Flash comics and other comics featuring Jay Garrick. The archives are hardcover. All of the others are softcover trade paperbacks. As the Flash, Garrick can run at superhuman speeds and has superhumanly fast reflexes. The limits of his speed have fluctuated over the years, though he has usually been second to DC's flagship Flash, Barry Allen. In his earliest appearances, Garrick's speed was derived from a metagene that activated after he inhaled hard water vapors. This allowed him to move swiftly enough to intercept bullets. He could carry people away with him at super speed without causing injury due to extreme acceleration. He could make himself invisible by vibrating his body at high frequencies. Over time, Jay Garrick learns to access a new fuel for his powers, and those of other speedsters, the Speed Force. In the 2012 series Earth 2, Jay's powers are a blessing from the god Mercury. He can magically transform his clothing into his costume at will. Joan Williams, later Joan Garrick, is a fictional character from DC Comics, a supporting character and romantic interest of Flash, Jay Garrick. She was the earliest recurring supporting character of Flash within the DC universe. First depicted as the girlfriend, and later wife, of Jay Garrick. The character was created by Gardner Fox and Harry Lampert and first appeared in Flash Comics number 1, January 1940. She appeared in the cover alongside Flash on the issue. She would remain the supporting character of the titular character throughout the Golden Age, and she was revived through the Silver Age in Flash of Two Worlds, where she is revealed to be a part of Earth 2. Joan Williams was depicted as the college crush of Jay Garrick, who Joan originally rejected. Later, after obtaining speedster powers, Jay used them to become a football star to impress Joan and later decided to be a superhero, the Flash. The Flash helped Joan when his father was kidnapped. She would remain a girlfriend and confidant to the Flash. Unlike Lois Lane and Superman, Joan was always aware of the Flash's secret identity. The events of Crisis on Infinite Earths retconned both Jay and Joan and the entire Keystone City citizens in a coma until Barry Allen would revive them. The couple ultimately married and Jay retired from the Justice Society of America for a while until returning to the group. Joan was described as an essential part of the Golden Age Flash's life in decades to come by Mark Ginocchio of comicbook.com. Her and Jay's marriage are cited as among the most popular of DC's earliest married characters by Vanita Rogers of Newsarama. Jim Beard in the book The Flash Companion wrote positively of the character's depiction by Sheldon Mayer, which he felt Joan's depiction was an example of strong females at the time. John Wells in the same book compared Gardner Fox's deriving of the character to other works of characters like Diane Belmont of Sandman, Inza Kramer of Dr. Fate, and Shiera Hall, that the female romantic interests weren't just lovers but confidant of the superhero as depicted at the time. Joan Garrick appears in the Young Justice animated series, voiced by Kath Soucie. She returns in Young Justice Outsiders as she is shown to be gravely ill and is in a hospital. She passes away off-screen in the episode Early Warning. Joan Williams appeared as the Earth 3 doppelganger of Nora Allen in Season 6 of The Flash, played by Michelle Harrison. She is the wife of Jay Garrick. She appeared in the episode A Flash of the Lightning. Following the 2011 reboot of the DC Comics universe, a new version of Jay Garrick is introduced in the first issue of the Earth 2 comic book. This version of Garrick, portrayed as a 21-year-old recent college graduate, is spurned by his girlfriend, Joan, and possesses very little in terms of career prospects. The character receives his superspeed from Mercury, a dying Roman god who sees bravery in Garrick, and is also the last god to fall following a war with Apocalypse. Mercury claims that he has been held for the past 10 years by a greater threat than Apocalypse. Garrick escapes a World Army helicopter that sees the event as Mercury dies and tells Garrick to run. He saves a couple from Apocalypse, saying he will do it in a flash. Later, Garrick arrives in Poland and meets Hawkgirl. Working alongside Hawkgirl and Alan Scott, he assists in defeating Solomon Grundy, making his first public debut as the Flash. In the final issue of DC's year-long Series 52 in 2007, a new multiverse is revealed, originally consisting of 52 identical realities. Among the parallel realities shown, one is designated Earth 2. As a result of Mr. Mind-eating aspects of this reality, it takes on visual aspects similar to the pre-crisis Earth 2, now called Earth 2, to distinguish the two separate realities. In one panel, a new counterpart to Jay Garrick is shown, among other Justice Society of America characters. The names of the characters and the team are not mentioned in the panel in which they appear, but they are later specifically used in the Countdown Arena series, where the new Earth 2 Flash is specifically identified as Jay Garrick and does not allow others to call him Flash. Despite being an almost exact duplicate to the original World War II Garrick, it is shown that the new Earth 2 Garrick is much younger, having no gray hair at all. Other Garricks are shown in the 52 multiverse. A second young Jay Garrick lives on the unspecified Earth that Wally West went to with his young children at the beginning of Bart Allen's tenure as the Flash. This Garrick is separate from the young post-crisis Earth 2 Garrick, as the post-crisis Earth 2 heroes make no mention of Wally or his children on their Earth. The multiverse established in 52 is later replaced following DC's 2011 Flashpoint storyline. Following this, a new multiverse is established and all series were relaunched as part of DC's The New 52 publishing event. The post-52 pre-Flashpoint Earth 2 Jay Garrick ceases to exist, as did the mainstream Jay Garrick. A new but entirely different Earth 2 Jay Garrick then becomes the continually published version of the character. See publication history. In the Elseworlds book JSA, The Unholy Three, Jay Garrick is portrayed as a post-WW2 United States intelligence agent stationed in Russia, working under the codename Mercury. He is instrumental in bringing down the story's Road Superman. When Brother Grimm helped Captain Cold and Mirror Master trap Wally West in an alternate world where the Speed Force never existed, it is revealed that Jay Garrick never gained his speed in the accident and died during the Second World War. In the Flashpoint reality, Jay Garrick died rather than developing super speed after inhaling hard water. In Justice League episode Legends, a character named The Street voiced by David Naughton is based on Jay Garrick. The Street was the speedster of the Justice Guild of America. He died along with the other members of the JGA during a war that destroyed most of their homeworld. The character of the Streak is based on the Golden Age Flash, Jay Garrick, with some costume differences. The helmet: Jay wears a World War I helmet given to him by his father emblazoned with wings like those on Flash's hood, not a pilot helmet. The pants, which are blue instead of red with yellow overshorts, and the lightning bolt on the shirt, which rises up from the bottom and takes up most of its main body. Jay Garrick is a recurring character in Batman, The Brave and the Bold, voiced by Andy Milder. He is of the heroes Batman most frequently teams up with. In the teaser plot of Trials of the Demon, he and Batman stop the Scarecrow and Scream Queen on Halloween. After learning that the Halloween pumpkins are infected with the Scarecrow's fear toxin, Garrick rounds up every pumpkin in town. When the townspeople demand to know what happened, Garrick finds Batman already gone. Garrick briefly appears in The Fate of Equinox, in which he lends his powers to Batman to help against Equinox. He returns as a member of the Justice Society in the episode The Golden Age of Justice. In Requiem for a Scarlet Speedster, Garrick acknowledges that Barry Allen disappeared in a battle with Professor Zoom. Batman, Jay, and Kid Flash use the cosmic treadmill to travel to the 25th century and help Barry battle Professor Zoom. Jay Garrick appears in the Young Justice animated series, voiced by Jeff Pearson. He and Joan, voiced by Kat Susi, are introduced in the episode Downtime, where the Allen and West families throw a birthday party for Jay. Jay is referred to as a retired speedster by Joan Garrick, and does not appear to possess the slow aging that his comic book counterpart does. He temporarily comes out of retirement in the episode Bloodlines in order to help Barry, Kid Flash, and Impulse during a battle against Neutron, as well as in the series finale to help the Justice League save the Earth. Through the series, it is mentioned that the Garricks have been acting as Impulse's guardians. He returns in Young Justice, Outsiders episode Delusion of Control, where he is seen sitting next to his wife Joan at a hospital in Central City. In the episode Early Warning, Kid Flash and Blue Beetle are unable to assist the Outsiders because they are with Jay attending Joan's funeral. In the episode Elder Wisdom, Jay Garrick reminds Lex Luthor during his interview with G. Gordon Godfrey that the hero registration didn't work when Lex Luthor suggests reviving it. The character is alluded to in the 1990 The Flash live-action TV series. The trickster paints a statue of Mercury red and yellow to mock the Flash, Barry Allen. The statue resembles Jay Garrick's costume. The series features Barry Allen's older brother Jay Allen, played by Tim Thomerson, named after Jay Garrick as a homage to him, and his murder in the pilot episode inspires Barry's career as the Flash. A street in that show Central City is named Garrick, and in one instance a cop reports from the corner of Gardner and Fox. Jay Garrick is alluded to in Smallville. In Season 4's run, the name is one of Bart Allen's aliases. The actual character appears in Season 9's Absolute Justice, played by Billy Mitchell. He is a superhero in the 1970s, as well as a research scientist. He was framed by the government for fraud as part of their plan to disable the JSA. He, like the others, falsely confessed to all charges, but they were never convicted. With law enforcement aware of his superhero identity, Garrick retired. In 2010, Clark Kent and Chloe Sullivan find old black and white police footage of Garrick, along with his criminal record. Very little is said about him, but it was confirmed by Stargirl he was still alive, and it was hinted he had children. In the 11th issue of the comic book continuation, it is revealed that Garrick's leg was disabled, and that he could no longer run at superhuman speed, which is how the government was able to arrest him. It is also revealed that Bart got Garrick's name, along with those of Barry Allen and Wally West, through subliminal stimuli from the Speed Force. Garrick becomes a recluse after retiring. Clark and Bart consult Jay to find out how to stop the Black Flash. After Bart sacrifices his life to stop the Black Flash, Jay feels guilty for not doing anything about the Black Flash years ago. He then forms a school for gifted children in San Francisco, forming a team of teenaged superheroes, the Teen Titans, consisting of Superboy, Miss Martian, Speedy, Blue Beetle, Wonder Twins, and later Raven. He also had his leg repaired, regaining his speed, but he still wears a brace while in the field. Jay Garrick appears on the Flash 2014 live-action TV series. Although heavily advertised, the Teddy series portrays the character throughout Season 2, it was later revealed he was actually Hunter Zolomon/Soon's Masquerade on Earth 2. The real character is introduced by name in the Season 2 finale as the Flash of Earth 3 and the doppelganger of Henry Allen, portrayed by John Wesley Shipp. He had been held captive by Zolomon, unsuccessfully attempting to siphon Garrick's Speed Force energy. Garrick returns in Season 3, acting as a stern mentor to Barry Allen, as he explains the adverse consequences of time travel, using the analogy of trying to repair a broken coffee cup, and advises Barry to live with the mistakes that were made when Barry attempted to alter the timeline. Garrick next appears when facing his version of the trickster, when Barry asks his help to defeat the self-proclaimed speed god Savitar. Garrick endures a beating from Savitar to give Barry the opportunity to stop Savitar's pawn Dr. Alchemy. Later, at Garrick's suggestion, the two speedsters throw the box with the Philosopher's Stone, Savitar's touchstone, into the Speed Force to end Savitar's threat. However, Barry is catapulted 5 months into the future, witnesses Savitar killing Iris West. Garrick claims that what Barry saw was a potential future that could change. Garrick then encourages Barry to focus more on the present. Garrick later enters the Speed Force to help Barry save Wally West from Savitar's Speed Force prison that Wally was tricked into entering. Garrick elects to remain behind in the Speed Force so that Barry and Wally can escape. Garrick gets freed in the Season 3 finale by Vibe to assist Barry and Wally in their fight against Savitar, with Barry choosing to take his place after Savitar's death. In Season 4, Garrick gets called in to help Barry and Jesse Wells stop a nuclear explosion from destroying Central City. The three speedsters enter Flash Time, a state in which they move so fast that time appears to be frozen. After several unsuccessful attempts to stop the explosion, operating in Flash Time for so long begins to take its toll on Garrick's aged body, forcing him to drop back into normal speed. Eventually, after the disaster is averted, Garrick announces that he has decided to retire from superhero work and will begin training a protege to succeed him as Earth 3's Flash. By Season 6, Garrick has retired and settled down with his wife Joan Williams, portrayed by Michelle Harrison. Jay Garrick appears in the DC Universe series Stargirl. He appears as a member of the Justice Society of America before the team was attacked and killed by the Injustice Society. Jay Garrick makes a cameo appearance in the opening credits of the animated film Justice League: The New Frontier. He is seen being forced out of heroics by the government. Smallville Season 11, Garrick first appears in Haunted, where, in an attempt to help Impulse find a way to keep his speed demon from stalking him, Clark takes Impulse to the JSA brownstone, saying that they must find Garrick, because, as a fellow speedster, he might have answers they need. Arriving at an old residence in the outskirts of Utah, Superman and Impulse encounter an old withered version of Garrick equipped with a cane. At first, Garrick isn't thrilled at meeting Impulse, who had stolen his identity a few years earlier. Clark informs Garrick of Carter Hall's initial plan, prior to his untimely death, to reinstate the Justice Society of America, with the remaining living members helping to guide the new generation of heroes. Impulse asks Garrick to reveal all that he knows about the Black Flash. Garrick shows signs of fear at the mention of that name, and begins to reveal the reason behind his handicap. The government broke his leg a decade ago, and Garrick refused to have it repaired, thus depriving himself of his super speed abilities, which would prevent the Black Flash from haunting Garrick. However, Garrick can still feel the Black Flash's presence, and he realizes that the Black Flash has its sights set on Impulse. The only way to stop the Black Flash is for Impulse to die. As the speed storm crackles in Utah, Clark tries to reason with Garrick, saying that there must be another way to help Art. Garrick asserts that there is no choice in the matter, and that by using the Speed Force, the demon is there to collect the debt. Clark asks why there were no records of speed storms while Garrick was with the JSA. Garrick surmises that Impulse is so fast that it has made the creature hungry and desperate. Picking up on the thought, Clark reasons that it is sending out the speed storms to try to create a new speedster to take on as its prey. Impulse realizes that the biology of the speedsters is special and that that's why so many have died in the attempts. Impulse asks Garrick how many speedsters there are. Garrick gives a mealy answer about not being the first and Impulse not being the last. Impulse confronts him about not having raced the demon himself to have possibly stopped it, and Garrick denounces their abilities as a curse. Clark offers that curses can be blessings if they don't let their powers control their lives. Garrick likens Clark to Carter Hall, and Impulse takes the opportunity to call Garrick out for not having stayed in touch with his team, mentioning that even though Garrick didn't know Carter, he still attended his funeral. Garrick owns up to not being proud of how he acted, but Impulse is still unsatisfied. Riled up, Impulse starts tapping into the Speed Force before Clark manages to stop him. Clark fields communication from Chloe at Watchtower. He asks how she is and she tells him she's coping. She alerts him to a speed storm brewing in Las Vegas, a huge one that isn't slowing down and is killing many. Clark relays the message to Impulse, who tries running off on his own. Clark grabs him and Impulse argues that the racer is waiting for him there and is calling to him. Clark tells Chloe that they didn't come up with a solution. She responds that STAR Labs might have something. Patched to Emil Hamilton, the doctor explains they took the concept of sending Clark into the sun to remove his irradiation to fashion a containment suit. He states that they modified the suit to collect speed energy and that Clark might be able to use it to constantly move fast enough to confront the demon. The scientists at STAR fire a pod into the atmosphere and it quickly rockets its way to the young hero's location in Utah. The pod opens to reveal the new suit, a black and silver affair with a glowing S-shield. Clark quickly puts on the suit and speeds to the massive storm in Las Vegas. Boldly, Clark proclaims to the demon that it's time for round 2. After Clark leaves Garrick, Impulse sits silently and watches the speed storm on the horizon. Impulse decides to go help Clark. Before he leaves, he tells Impulse that he heard the same names that Impulse did the first time he got his powers. Jay tells him that the Speed Force is something that binds all the speedsters together. Impulse then runs off. Later, Garrick and Clark meet at the JSA brownstone and talk about Impulse and Carter. Clark tells him not to blame himself, but Garrick thinks that he should have done something about it years ago. Garrick leaves with Abigail Hunkle when Emil shows up, but not before looking at his old tin hat. Jay runs a school for the gifted in San Francisco with Connor Kent/Superboy, Speedy, Blue Beetle, Miss Martian and Zahn and Janie as his students. He also had his leg fixed and regained full use of his speed powers, though he is seen wearing a brace when out in the field. Jay Garrick appears in Batman, The Brave and the Bold, the video game, voiced by Andy Milder. Jay Garrick appears in DC Universe Online, voiced by Ryan Wickerham. Earth 2 Jay Garrick's outfit appears as a downloadable costume for The Flash and Injustice, Gods Among Us. Jay Garrick is playable as a premiere skin for The Flash and Injustice 2, voiced by Travis Willingham. He also makes a cameo in The Flash's single-player ending, In DC Legends, he appears as a playable character, as well as his helmet being part of the Flash's gear,